You want to start or you want me to start?
No, you start.
So this is a conversation about our good friend John Lauka. My name is Rodney Harris. I've been John Lauka's friend since I was 11 years old, 1968, when I first met John.
I'm Mike Didio, and I was a friend of John Lauka's also. I probably was about the same time that Rodney was friends with John also, middle school area.
So we're going to have this conversation about our friend John Lauka from Detroit to Portland, 2,500 miles away. Just a celebration of John Lauka's life. We just want to introduce you to what we know about John growing up with him since 1968. Let you know what we knew about John. Growing up with him, the kind of guy he was, and as you know, when I met him in 6th grade, he's the same person he was when I saw him again in June of 2019. But we want to give you an early introduction of what we thought John was, and that's what our conversation is. So in 1995, we had a reunion, our 20-year high school reunion, and John and I said that we wouldn't lose touch with each other, which of course we did. So 24 years later, I'm visiting my sister in Seattle, and I'm going like, my wife wanted to go to Portland. I go, Portland, Oregon? I go, John Lauka lives in Portland. I need to find him. So I called my friend Gary Skenesny that, also graduated with John, and I called my friend Gary Griglak that also graduated with John, because those are the last two friends that I thought had contact with John. And the only thing they said is, yes, the last thing they remember, he was in Portland. So here comes Google. So I Googled John Lauka, CPA, Portland, Oregon, Clendale, class of 1975. And the first thing that came up was John Lauka and a phone number for his business, which he had already sold. So I called his business, only can leave a message. The secretary there was John's secretary before he retired. She called John, and about 6 hours later, I get a phone call from John Lauka saying hello. So once again, you think, John was a tough guy, but, in 5th grade in elementary school, Sunnyview Elementary School in his neighborhood that he grew up in, and we had monkey bars then. They were like a rocket ship, per se, without the nose piece. So, in 5th grade, you thought that was like climbing the Empire State Building. So John climbs the monkey bars to the top, and he gets on the top, and he starts to stand up. Now, he didn't stand up, but, he let go that he was only on 2 feet. Who in the world would have such, I don't want to say that word. Courage, that's a good word. Who would have such courage to do a thing? And what we recall is he was the only boy or girl in elementary school to do such a feat.
Basically, when we come from Sunnyview up to middle school, now you're finally going to start seeing people that you never saw before. And
Three elementary schools.
All the elementary schools are all coming together. But in elementary, I never really knew John, and in our little league, I don't ever recall John playing baseball or anything like that. But once we got into middle school, and then sports started up, we all used to go out for the team, and I think probably between 6th and 7th grade is when we met John, or I did, and then I already knew Rodney, and we were like a magnet sort of, us three together. Once we started playing basketball, then you got football, and
so John was on a 7th grade football team.
Yeah, 7th grade football and 7th grade basketball, and we all had the same type of personality. John, like Rodney said, was very kind-hearted. It didn't seem like he had a mean bone in his body.
I don't remember John ever being upset, but if you ever look at the pictures of John, when we took group pictures, he always slouched.
Yeah, his shoulders were
So John was one of the taller kids, but you would never know it because his posture,
right?
He always slouched. Yeah. And one thing that was great about John in 8th grade basketball, I don't know if you remember this, Mike, but you had catechism.
Yes.
Like every kid, if you weren't black on the team, if you're white on the team, you're a Catholic, and you had catechism. And our basketball game's supposed to start at 4 o'clock. But because of all these kids on the team had catechism, our basketball game started late.
Geez, I never knew that.
You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember.
So anyway,
that,
the game started late, and school got out like 2:30, 2:45, and where I live, it was 2.5 mile walk, and I was going to walk home and then walk back to the school to play a basketball game. John invited me to his house. on Danbury. And I remember going to John's house. Now, you're talking, this is like 1969, 1970. So a little black boy in a white neighborhood wasn't the greatest thing in the world. But John invited me to his house. I remember his mother. I remember his father a great deal. His father was a big guy.
Big, tall.
Big guy. And I remember, he was huge.
Yeah.
Not fat, but just big.
Yeah.
And I remember his suits. I don't know if you remember his suits. They were always flashy. His ties. He didn't wear a white shirt. He wore colored shirts and very colorful ties. I never forget that. But when anytime we had a basketball game, I would go over to Lauka's house. I remember he taught me how to play ping pong. He taught me how to play pool, and his parents fed me. That was a great combination.
And John lived right behind the middle school, junior high. He wasn't any closer. He was right there. We used to take a shortcut through there used to be a gate. The gate, right? I think Thiel's property used to be the gate right there. We used to take a shortcut through there. And I don't know if it's probably locked up.
I know, but John lived right there
there
at the school, so that was very, very convenient for us. Right. And our relationship just blossomed from there. It was just great. And like I said, I don't remember John ever being upset. I can't tell you one time the man was ever upset with anything. John was very popular because of how he treated people, how he looked, how he handled himself. John was a smart guy also. But in 8th grade, we had a Cougar column. That was our newspaper, and I think it came out once a month. Anyway, our classmate, Maria Lambert, she wrote, "What does the ideal guy look like?" Mm-hmm. And you think John wasn't popular, but he was one of the, I think, 10 guys, 8 guys that she mentioned. And it was John Lauka's smile, or his mouth or his smile, something like that in the paper, which you got in there for.
Yeah, I don't know what that was for, but
I was in there for muscles.
I don't know what
I was in there for muscles. But once again, a popular person. Everyone knew who John was because the way he treated people and the way he handled himself. Very much so.
Well, high school now with sports, and that now you're up in the big leagues now. Yeah. So, I was still little. I didn't start growing until.
But Jim, I think our freshman year, John didn't play football. I believe. Then he played in 10th grade.
Right.
Then he didn't play in 11th grade. Then he came back in 12th grade.
I know he was as a senior. He was on the team. Yeah, number 80. What was it? 85.
85.
85 was his number.
Our senior year, he's number 85, and I remember him catching a pass from me too for a 2-point conversion against Mount Clemens.
I found the program that shows that he scored points.
Oh yeah?
Yes, I did.
That he scored his 2 points.
2 points. They had that year. So he did score 2 points. But yeah, John, football wasn't sort of his game. I mean, he liked playing with it, but basketball was where he
spent a lot of time in the gym.
Yeah,
he loved the game of basketball.
He wanted to improve so much, and by the time we started playing at that level, and we were getting better and better and better, and we would compete against the guys that were older than us, and we would be
kick their butt.
We would be beating them, and so we sort of got noticed by the varsity coach and anybody above us, and when we got to that our junior year, the team was not that good. So
John was the starter.
Yeah, John started.
John led confidence.
Yes, we always talked about that.
When Mike and I were on second string guards, and John was one of the first string guards.
Right.
And when we scrimmaged against him, he would bring the ball up and would be pleading with us not to steal the ball away from him.
Don't make me look bad.
Now he's on first string, and we're on second string, but he's telling us, please don't steal the ball from me. So John left a little confidence in his junior year, even though he had a couple of good games his junior year.
But
also.
We did, as sophomores, we came up to varsity.
For the tournament.
They pulled up 5 of us. Was it 5 of us?
They started 5.
And it was me, John, Rodney, Winnie, and who was the other one?
Will Young.
Will Young. No, Will wouldn't have been. Will would have been a freshman.
Yeah, he was on the JV.
So we were, I don't know where we were, but Ron slicked us, the varsity coach, because the team was so bad. He took every one of those guys out.
And put us in.
He goes, I'm putting all the sophomores in. And we played better than...
I scored 10 points, by the way. You look at the article, it says that I had 3 baskets.
Right.
I had 5 baskets.
Right. Rodney, you don't forget.
Yeah.
So then when we became juniors, we just jumped to that next level, and we started. Eventually, we started. But John's one story I like about John is me and Rodney we were the 2-on-2 guys. So anybody that wanted to challenge us, I don't think we lost in never. You're right. And John used to get we go, you could pick anybody you want. Yeah. We don't care. And he would pick he'd pick somebody. He goes, I'm gonna challenge you guys, and we'd beat him. And just like Rodney said, his shoulders would go down and he'd slump. So that was one of our big talks, Rodney in the locker room, because our lockers were all together. And Rodney used to tell John, you're a good player. You need that confidence, and you need to get aggressive.
Yeah, if you miss a shot, guess what you do? You shoot again.
Yeah, don't put your head down and don't run down the court, because that's what And then he picked up those vibes and stuff like that. And
so much so that our senior year, he was voted one of the captains.
Yep, he got voted a captain, and I think he was really proud of that.
One thing, here's a tidbit: before every game, John ate a Snickers bar. Before every basketball
in front of the wrestlers.
Because the wrestlers couldn't eat. But anyway, before any game or varsity year, John would always have a Snickers bar before we played a game. And
I always remember he always had his white
sweatpants.
Right. He was in pictures in the yearbook. Yeah. And the year he got Adidas tennis shoes.
No, Pro Kids.
Were they Pro? I don't know.
So we were wearing Converse Chuck Taylors.
That's all we could.
That's all we could afford. They were $8.
That was still expensive.
They were $8.
Yeah.
And John, in winning for name, went out and got Pro Kids. They were like $16.
Yeah.
It's like, are you crazy?
With stripes on the side.
That just tells you how serious he was playing basketball. Are you crazy?
Right.
$16 for a pair of gym shoes?
Yeah.
Now, you gotta remember, the pros were wearing Converse Chuck Taylors.
Right.
But John thought they weren't good enough, so he had to get these Pro Kids that he paid $16 for. It's like, wow.
And he worked hard at his shot.
His favorite shot?
His favorite shot was from the corner, about 10, 12 feet out. He had that down, and Rodney used to tell him, shoot. If you're open, shoot the ball. Well, you can't score if you don't shoot. But he had 2 or 3 really good games. The one and there's an article on South Lake. Mr. Slickness gave him a duty. He says, you watch this guy, their best scorer. He goes, I don't want this guy to score.
He did great with that, and I think his best game was against St. Clair, where he scored 14 points, and we won the game. These games that we won, which is always good.
It was always hard. So there are some, and these are the articles that I sent John, and he never even knew those existed. He had no idea. After 44 years, I had the original Macomb Daily
local newspaper.
Yeah, local newspaper clippings that I saved, or someone saved for me. And he, when he got them, I print anything that had his name in it, I printed out. And there was good 10, 15, 20 articles. And they used to put our byline, and you should show how many points you scored, your foul shots. And when he got them, he called me back, and he said, he goes, this is just great.
Not just sports, but even outside sports, the three of us would hang around. John was always the good dresser. It's time for a class picture or whatever. We're wearing t-shirts or a polo. John's wearing a tie. So he's always a good dresser. Always had the good-looking girls too. Why is that?
Well, he's a good-looking guy. That's why. He had the sideburns.
They know John the way we do.
But John, if you look at our team pictures, we sort of look the same, but I was just a little miniature of him. But we both wore glasses. Obviously, everybody knows when you broke your glasses, you got in trouble. You probably
couldn't see.
Well, not that, but the glasses were expensive. And then you come to school and it'd be taped up. You had the tape, and then I think as a senior or junior year, we finally found this place that had these sports glasses that would bend.
Yeah.
And we both, if you look in the picture, you'll see we're both.
Once again, you're talking 1974, 75 here.
Right, and if you look at the picture, you'll see John and I both had the same glasses, because I don't know how many times our glasses got broken, and you come home and your dad going, what? Get the black tape out, or glue and that.
Yeah.
And so we wore those our whole senior year.
Fast forward to the 20-year reunion. So we haven't seen John for 20 years.
Right.
And somehow he got my phone number. I don't know how or whatever, but he got my phone number that he told me he was coming to 20-year reunion. And I wasn't too happy with him because we graduated June 6th of 1975, and we haven't seen him in 20 years.
Right.
And all of a sudden he's calling me and say, hey, Rodney, I'm coming to a 20-year reunion. And I told him, well, John, if you're coming, you're staying with me. He goes, well, I have my daughter, Caroline, with me. I'm going like, then both of you are staying with me. So he came in, stayed with me, and the first question I had for him was, what happened? First of all, he came and he was bald.
Yes, that
Had
was
no hair.
I go, you got no hair, John.
No hair. And like, John, what in the world happened? Where you just disappeared? And he told me he graduated in June 6th, and then June 9th, he was on his way to the Marines.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, Marines? And he told me that was the greatest thing that ever happened to him joining the Marines. So in 20 years, we haven't seen him because he joined the Marines, and now he's back with me for 2 weeks. Reunion, going over your house.
Yes. Yeah.
So, as soon as you came in, after reunion, we have to go over to Mike's house, which Mike had a basketball backboard and stuff. So we're out there playing basketball.
Yeah.
Caroline's with your 2 kids.
Right.
My kids were in Colorado at the time. They left for vacation. But we had a great time. Dinner, we spent morning, afternoon, night.
The whole evening, and caught up.
Like it was yesterday.
When I talked to John, though, on the telephone, I go, how did you become an accountant? He goes, well, it was in the service, he said.
Right.
He goes, when they start figuring out what you can do or wherever, this guy goes, hey, we need someone to be an accountant or
do the numbers.
Do some numbers at this whatever. And he goes, then I just took all my classes. And he goes, once I come out of the service, he goes, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I guess he built a successful business.
Yeah. Big time, very successful. But the 20-year reunion, everyone was so happy to see him.
Yeah, I know. We were drooling like.
Yeah, with pictures and people hugging him and everything else. He was sorely missed, and we told ourselves that we were not going to let this happen again. So 2 weeks with John in 1995, we were not going to let 20 years go by without seeing and talking to each other.
But that's what happened.
And what happens? 24 years go by.
Right.
Before we get in contact with them again.
When Rodney got a hold of him, Rodney sent a text out to the guys.
April of 2019.
That's when he let us know that John wasn't
doing well.
Wasn't doing well, but we didn't know a whole lot of details, and I knew he had some type of cancer and that. And then when Rodney gave me his phone number, I sent out some pictures to him, and right away he goes, "It's got to be Mike," because he knew it was me. I go, "We look like brothers on the basketball picture." So I said, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you, give you a call." And so I talked to him for 45 minutes, an hour, and that's when he told me that he's fighting a good fight. He said,
7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. And he goes, "I only weigh 150 pounds." He said, "I go, I'm still going strong."
Yeah, it was great because I contacted some of my classmates, our classmates.
Right.
Grace gives him a call. Brill, who's a doctor in Florida, called him right away. My twin sister, texting them and sending them cards and prayers and everything else. And it was just great how the classmates rallied around John to let him know that he's not a forgotten child, that he's one of us.
Wow, yeah.
And it was a good rally. It was
very good.
Good time.
A lot of people got a hold of him, and I'm sure his wife didn't know that side of.
No,
she didn't know that side of.
No.
His life probably.
Well, even my wife Karen, she was like, John Lauka, who's John Lauka? Because when he came here in '95, her and the kids took off to Colorado to visit. So she didn't spend a whole lot of time with him, and she didn't hear me so much talk about him or whatever. But she wasn't. Karen's not a Clindale person. She's like, what's Clindale? Get me away from these people. But John's name has always been brought up all the time.
Right.
And then when we went out to visit, and we spent 2 days with Julie and John, then Karen understood, and John Lauka was.
Yeah.
Which was, great 2 days.
Luckily, Jamie got that day. My wife Jamie got to be the whole day with John, and she.
Oh yeah, back in '95.
Yeah.
And your kids.
Yes. Yeah.
She
they remember that too. When I showed the pictures to them, they
go,
look how little we were. You go like, wow, man, time just flies.
Yeah.
Time just flies. And you know, it's hard to, it's reality that it's hard to absorb it right now.
So with us getting back in contact with John, I had planned on visiting my oldest sister in Seattle. Then we want to spend some time in Portland. And I told my wife Karen that, you know, I want to spend a couple of days with John, and got in touch with John, called him quite a few times. And we decided that Saturday in June and Sunday in June that we were going to spend time together, which we did, which was absolutely great. Got to meet Julianne, wonderful woman. Just Julianne, thank you for taking care of my friend. So we got to John's house, you know, gave him a big hug, and we went on his back porch and just started talking, and you know, talking about his life and about him fighting cancer. And he just said that, you know, it's hard and he's tired. And I asked him about his support group. He goes, no one like you. So we started talking about that. Then we went out to dinner. He showed us around town. The next day to Sunday, we went somewhere. I don't know, Julianne would probably tell us, but it was gorgeous. Just looking at Portland, all the mountains and everything else, the waterfalls. And I got to spend a couple of minutes along with Julianne. I said, Julie, you know, tell me, you know, how John's doing. She goes, well, he's not doing well. And she goes, you know, I'll be surprised if he lasts another month. And I'm going like, you know, that's not good news. And anyway, we get back. So after we visit, we had a great visit. We go back to his house, and John comes out with a Tigers program, a 1952 Tigers program. And he goes, Rodney, I know you will take care of this. I go, John, what are you talking about? He goes, well, this is my parents' first date. On their first date, they went to a Tigers game. My father kept score, and it was a scorecard. And we're like, John, you have family, you have kids. He goes, no, I know you will take care of it. That's when I knew how sick he was, very much so. When he gave me that program, which I put the program in a frame. It's in my living room. I look at it every single day. Tiger scorecard with the pencil. And if you open up the program, you can see where Mr. Lauka was keeping score, and they were playing the Boston Red Sox in 1952. Which, and the program is just unbelievable. But that's when I realized how truly sick he was. And then talking to Julianne once again, she said, you know, he's just not doing well. He's just tired. But we had such an amazing visit with him. And, you know, then I contacted once again the classmates again and said, you know, reach out.
He sent out pictures.
You know, talk to John and everything else. If you fast forward to, and then we kept in contact as much as we could.
Well, we went to the ball game.
Yep. So in August, fast forward to August, we had a function at Clendale High School together. And on the way, after the function at Clendale, we were going to the Tigers game, which I contacted Julie right before, the day before, and said, Julie, listen, we're going to call John at 11 o'clock Eastern time.
Right.
Because I didn't tell the guys that I knew that we'd be in the car on our way to the Tigers game. So we called, he answered on the first ring. Mm-hmm. And so it was Mike, Bill Clegg, who we called Fire, Dr. Mike Burrell, who we called Gunner. Mm-hmm. We don't want to get into that. But we had the greatest 35-minute conversation going from Clendale to the Tigers game.
Expressway.
Yep, talking about everything. And John talked about, which absolutely great, because he had planned on coming in, going to the Michigan Notre Dame game, which is next Saturday, October 26th.
Yes, he would have been.
Yep, him and Julie were going to come in for the game. And he said, you know, Rodney, he goes, I got to ask you something. There's one thing I need to do when I get back to Detroit. John, what is it? I need to go to White Castle. Now, if you don't know what White Castle is, it's a bunch of greasy,
tiny little hamburgers that taste so good.
I think it's when you talk about sliders.
Yeah, they're the original.
This is the original slider burger. I think when we were growing up, they're like a nickel.
Yeah, 5 cents for a plain one. I think 10 cents for
so they were very inexpensive. But he goes, you know, I got to go to White Castle, and Mike Burrell, Gunner, because he wasn't going to be back for it. So after the Tigers game, he was writing, let's go to White Castle for John.
Yeah.
So we went to White Castle. We took a bunch of pictures, sent them to John, and say like, we're getting a head start on you, John. We're at White Castle eating these greasy burgers.
Yeah. I mean, he really wished, when we were in the drive, he goes, man, I wish I was with you guys right now.
Yeah.
You know, he knew we were going to the Tiger game and that.
And we sent him pictures of our whole day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, thinking about him and, you know, couldn't.
He still sounded positive that day for sure, you know.
Yeah. You can tell that he was tired and he was hurting, but I think that was a great phone call for him.
Oh, yeah. I think it really was. That he just appreciated his friends were all in.
And then that's when we found out that Bill Plague.
Yes.
And John, when I see you again, I'm gonna punch you. That's when we found out when Bill Plague and John in December of '74
went
to Detroit to take the test.
Yes, to enlist.
To enlist in Marines.
Right.
That he passed the test, and then in January.
But Bill didn't.
Right, Bill did. But in January, when he signed up, it was before his birthday. He was still 17, and his parents had to sign.
Permission. Yeah, that permission.
Right, so his parents had to sign for him to join the Marines. Now, mind you, so we thought we were close to John. He didn't say a word to us. So basketball practice, basketball
Never
games.
said nothing. No.
This in the winter, we're
He
we're in the locker room. Him and I are co-captains of the team.
Yeah.
He didn't say a word to us. I'm going like, you got to be kidding.
As soon as we graduated,
Gone.
It was done.
Gone. But then I was upset more because he joined in.
Well, then his parents moved out of the area.
Right. They moved to
Saginaw area.
And he stayed with his uncle in Sterling Heights.
Right. And then
driving that.
So the connection.
What was the car? LTD?
Probably that big old
Ford Galaxy 500 or something like that.
Tank.
Yeah. So his last 2 years at Glendale, he lived with his aunt and uncle in Sterling Heights, driving to Glendale because he wanted to finish at Glendale. Good for John.
Right.
So that was August 29th where we talked to John going to the Tigers game. And he talked about coming in. He sent me, August 8th, he sent me his itinerary for his flight to come in October 24th for the Michigan Notre Dame game. And he goes, I'm going to make it. And me, I'm going like, yeah, John. We plan on a party on the 25th. All our classmates come over our house, try to figure out what we're going to have for meals and everything else. And a month before, so I want to say September 24th, it was a Saturday, I believe. Anyway, it was on a Saturday. I went to the Michigan game. And that Sunday, I was going to call him. I think it was September 30th, 29th, something like that. And I was going to call him Sunday morning. I was waiting because of a 3-hour time difference. I was going to wait till noon. Our time would have been 9 o'clock Portland time. And I'm sitting there watching a program, and all of a sudden my phone rings, and it's John. And I'm going, John, great. I'm just going to call you. I was going to wait till later on. He goes, well, Rodney, I got some news for you. I said, what do you got, John? He goes, well, I'm in hospice. And I'm like, that's not the news I want to hear. He goes, I won't be able to make the Michigan Notre Dame game. So totally understand, John. Talk to him about Julie. Talk to him about himself. That everything was okay. You fought a great fight. It's time for you to rest. It's definitely time for you to rest. And so that was on a Sunday. And then I talked to Julianne, I believe that Wednesday, when she told me about John passing Tuesday night, which I reached out to all the guys. But a couple things that Julie talked to me about. John's last week, he listened nothing but to Motown music, Detroit Motown music. And the last song that was playing when he took his last breath was At Last by Etta James. Just perfectly fitting.
That's what he...
Not a good day for me that day. Because that was then I let everyone know, and a hard day. But sure. Once again, 7 years, the man was fighting. But I was being selfish because I wanted to see the boy. I wanted to see him badly. I wanted to get him his last big farewell from his friends that he grew up with. That was my plan. And then take him to Michigan Notre Dame game.
Get some White Castles.
And get White Castles. So I was feeling a little selfish. But happy at the same time because I know he was just tired because he told me over and over again that he was just tired. So not a good day, but John, great guy. Not a good guy, but great guy. One final thought about John Lauka. I want to read you this about a classmate of ours, Lola Clifton, wrote after John passed away. Lola writes, and this was on Facebook, Lola writes, in junior and senior high school, I was near the bottom of the pecking order. I was made fun of constantly. I was never invited to anything. However, I did have one close friend that we lasted a lifetime as being friends, and we reconnected on Facebook. I loved learning, but school was a miserable place to be. Enter two boys. Both of them were handsome, popular, and athletic. Each of them was kind and sweet to me even when their popular friends were around. No two-faced behavior here. They treated me well. That was so important to me during my most difficult part of my life. but I figured they had no idea how much it meant to me. Decades have passed since high school. I realized that perhaps I could find them using the internet. I found one, Mr. Rodney Harris, and got to personally thank him at our 40-year reunion. The other one eluded me. No one in the reunion knew where he was. Later I thought I found his business, but wasn't able to connect and verify that. Recently, Rodney found and visited his friend, teammate, Mr. John Lauka. Time was short though. John was very ill. He passed away this week, and I never got to thank him. I had so much wanted to do that. I don't have many regrets, but this is one. I am praying for his widow, Julianne Lauka, and his family and his friends, who I am sure there are many. That tells you everything you need to know about Mr. John Lauka.